it precedes all the slasher movies. They owe a debt to this. Halloween, Scream, Candyman, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
He's just out there and he's watching us and waiting. What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
All these movies owe a little bit to Psycho because it was the first. Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. Michael, why are we here?
Today we are discussing Psycho, the Alfred Hitchcock film of 1960.
Good afternoon. Here we have a quiet little motel, tucked away off the main highway, and as you see, perfectly harmless looking, when in fact, it has now become known as the scene of the crime.
This is its 65th anniversary, so we're going to get into that.
Yeah, we're dropping this during Halloween season. We thought that this would be appropriate for that time. Here is a IMDb summary of the film. A secretary on the run for embezzlement takes refuge at a secluded California motel owned by a repressed man and his overbearing mother. This movie stars Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Vera Miles, and John Gavin. It was directed by Alfred Hitchcock, came out in 1960. We're probably going to get right into spoilers because you can't really talk about this movie without talking about the spoilers. What are your initial thoughts on it right away? 65-year-old movie.
65 years of horror, because this is basically started the genre of slasher.
Yeah, the slasher genre, for sure.
So we don't get the long history of horror films without this kind of breaking the mold. There were some, but this one made it big and it put it on the map. It's an old film. It's an Alfred Hitchcock, so settle in for a slow burn. It's not the fast food type of film. My first reaction is just it takes you back to a different time. Just how different everything was.
It's a time
people
capsule.
Aren't wearing seatbelts. Yeah, people aren't wearing seatbelts. They're getting out of the opposite door than the driver's seat.
What?
Yeah, this is the suspense and the not knowing the twist. It's kind of awesome. I don't know. Of course, I knew the twist going into this since we grew up watching it.
Our parents were fans of Alfred Hitchcock. This was the one movie they didn't like of his. I think it was too intense for him, whatever you want to call it. But they loved his movies, and we watched all of his movies frequently. But I think I was at least a teenager and probably out of high school before I actually saw this movie for the first time.
I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Janet Leigh is Jamie Lee Curtis's mom.
What's the boogeyman?
Yeah. I don't know if that's...
Well, a lot of people know it. Basically, they're Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh. Those are her parents.
And Jamie Lee Curtis kind of, in her own right, became famous
for
herself.
Other horror movies. So
yeah, I mean, Halloween would have been her big
Halloween
kind of hit. Interesting.
So one scream queen begat another scream queen. My initial thoughts, Alfred Hitchcock was regularly talked about, mainly because we quite enjoyed his movies, but we weren't allowed to see this particular movie until we were much older. And this movie is probably Alfred Hitchcock's best movie. Now, I'm partial to all of his movies, like The Man Who Knew Too Much is a great movie, Vertigo, North by Northwest, and To Catch a Thief. Those are like some phenomenal films. A Rear Window is another one. He liked James Stewart. He liked working with James Stewart. This is considered by many people to be his best work. It kind of culminated his entire life. He started in the silent era and kind of worked his way into talking pictures in 1950s. That's where he becomes legendary. He had a hour-long TV show that was called Alfred Hitchcock Presents. It was basically anthologies. When this movie comes out, it's the height of his abilities, and people often refer to this as his best work. To discuss it any further, we should probably get into spoilers. So, you good to do spoilers?
Yeah.
All right, spoilers now. This was a bold movie.
You must be bold, daring.
In the 1960s, you got to understand, the 1960s, they were still being censored. Movies were still being censored heavily. You couldn't show people in bed together. You couldn't show of toilet flushing. You couldn't show anything that had to do with bodily functions or sexuality or violence. You could not show in movies at this time. And Alfred Hitchcock pushed the line on every single one of these censors. And in fact, he pushed the line so much on the censors that when this movie came out, it kind of helped to start breaking down the censor code, which was called the Hays Code at the time. And it was this very strict code that every movie that was made had to be gone through. Filmmakers had learned how to kind of find ways around it through clever dialogue, through innuendo. Innuendo became a huge thing in the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow.
Yeah.
That's how they would get around it. And this movie, right off the jump, the first scene is the main character post-coitus. And it's pretty obvious because they're getting dressed. But they don't say anything, and they're romantic, and it doesn't show anything other than her and her bra, which was actually
itself probably a little
itself was a little scandalous for the time. The other bold point is that you take the woman that you use for all of your marketing and you kill her within the first 20 minutes. This is what
Janet
shocked
Leigh was
people.
big. Like,
oh yeah, she was a big star.
People knew who she was. And yeah, they kill her off, the main character. She is technically the main character, and they kill her off in the beginning
within
of
the
film.
first 20 minutes.
Crazy.
So that was a bold decision. And then the twist at the end was another extreme bold decision. It was a bold decision to use Anthony Perkins.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
He, up until that point, was like a romantic lead in most everything that he had been in. It was like romantic comedies and stuff like that.
Remind me which one Anthony Perkins was.
Anthony Perkins is Norman Bates.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. So he was kind of known at the time for being just kind of the boy next door with this like boy next door kind of shy charm. After this movie, he could not get work that wasn't like a
sinister nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh. So it completely changed his career.
That is so crazy.
And Janet Leigh even said that she stopped taking showers after this movie.
No, God, please, no, 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 no!
Because the shower scene was like, it took like a couple days to shoot. They took over 70 takes. It was cold water. So this is probably the most famous shower scene of all time. And there's a lot of psychology play in this because when are women their most vulnerable?
Well, I mean, men too. But
yeah, fair enough.
It's
nice. It plays into the fear that, and probably a irrational fear, because most women who are going to take a shower aren't going to be assaulted or anything like that. But Alfred Hitchcock might have been like a secret psychologist, he studied psychology a little bit, because his films always had these underlining pennings of dread, of fear. And that's kind of what this movie is playing off of. When you go to a hotel, you want it to be in like a city, brightly lit city, so that there's nothing. So your like worst nightmare could be going to a hotel in the middle of nowhere and assaulted by a person. And there's also
Jeez.
like the fear of being watched in a hotel. Like everybody has that fear. Like it's an
Yeah.
irrational fear, and I guarantee, like it happens, but I guarantee that 99.99% of every place you go, especially like Airbnbs, people are like weirded out by Airbnbs because, well, what if they're watching me? You know, everybody's got this fear of somebody watching them. And so it plays on all these irrational fears. And that's what's brilliant about this movie, is that it takes those and makes them legit, like makes them like you should be fearful of this irrational fear.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know there are two kinds of fears, rational and irrational. Or in simpler terms, fears that make sense and fears that don't.
New generations don't look back on older movies. So when I showed this movie to my kids, my older kids, I'm not going to show it to my little kids. I showed it to my two older kids, and they both thought it was really, like, they knew nothing about the end. And Alfred Hitchcock, when this originally came out, took extreme pains to make sure nobody knew the twists ending, the twists throughout. Because there's one twist where the main character dies in 20 minutes, the first 20 minutes of the movie. You can imagine, I can just imagine people like looking at this movie going, is she actually dead? Like, is she actually dead? Like, they just killed the main character.
We came to see Janet Leigh.
Yeah. When I showed it to my kids, so like they had no idea, because people don't talk about this movie. People don't. This movie is 65 years old, and unless you're a cinephile, nobody's talking about this movie anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it precedes all the slasher movies. They owe a debt to this, like Halloween, Scream, Candyman. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
He's just out there and he's watching us and waiting. What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
All these movies owe a little bit to the Psycho movie because it was the first.
Well, and probably also we probably owe modern rating systems to it as well, because it pushed the envelope. Is when I think it was 8 years later that they actually started to implement
the rating systems, which almost means nothing nowadays because you can put anything you want on streaming now. So there's like,
it's true.
Streaming
has kind of changed things up a little bit, but when things go into theaters,
they still have to have a rating.
Yeah, you can have a pretty good idea that you're not going to take your kids to an R-rated film. PG-13, you might look up and see what it has in it, but then if it's like PG or probably fine kind of stuff.
It started happening in the 70s. The rating system started in the late 60s. 70s got a couple. They were just barely starting to put stuff out. I think they had PG and hard R as the 70s went along, and then the 80s came along, and Steven Spielberg convinced people to put a PG-13 rating on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, famously. By the 90s, the rating system had completely been set. And you basically had G, PG, PG-13, R, unrated or rated X, or NC-17 was the thing, but nobody wanted to release a movie with an NC-17 rating because then you could pretty much guarantee nobody was going to go to it. There's very few movies in history that became known with that. Showgirls is the only one I can think of with an NC-17 rating. And then, of course, rated X. Midnight Cowboy was rated X, and that was from the 70s. And that became a famous movie, even though it was rated X. But it kind of had the rating system kind of had like a death knell for movies, because if you had a certain rating, then like audiences just didn't go to them.
And I think some theaters wouldn't even release them.
Yeah, some theaters wouldn't.
We're good. We're not going to even release it.
Yeah. But the problem is now is that the ratings don't even matter now, because if you have streaming, you could just put whatever you want. They rate them, but it's like they don't put any restrictions on it unless you as a parent put a restriction on it.
Did we talk a little bit about the toilet? This is the first.
This is the first
film
movie
where
or
you see a
first.
toilet in it?
Well, no, not where you see a toilet, but where you see it flush. I think before this they had other movies that had toilets in them, but it was just in the
Yeah.
background or whatever. They didn't actually function the toilet. And the censors argued with him about it, but he got his way because he basically said to him,
That it
leave
was
the sense of
crucial
real.
to the plot. He was
Well,
able to convince him that it was
yeah, because it
crucial
was
to the
crucial
plot.
to the plot because they find a clue. She does some math about the money that she's stolen and then rips it up and flushes it down the toilet. Well, one of the clues that the people who are looking for her find is
Her
a little,
sister and her lover.
yeah. And the thing about it is that he convinced them through saying, okay, this is crucial to the plot. We need to know that this is what happens. Also, he convinced them because kind of in a sense of like this gives the film a sense of realism that people aren't really used to seeing. Movies started slowly going, let's do more realism. People went to the movies for escapism and not realism. So this movie kind of helps usher in a new crop of movies that were on the more realistic side, which was kind of new for the time because if you watch some old movies, they don't really land very well, mainly because the acting is a little off. It's like a heightened reality, and we can see it now, but in that back then, people went to the movies to get away from what was real. And we still do that, but nowadays I think with superhero movies we have a harder time having like realistic anything, and the acting is different now because it's realistic acting, not this heightened realism.
They started to dawn this lack of fantastical to kind of start being grounded in reality.
Yeah. That's kind of
hence probably why the 70s had a lot of kind of depressing, dark films.
darker. Yeah.
The Godfathers and
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest kind of help usher this in as well.
The fantastical kind of comes around with Star Wars, and that's kind of where it opens up.
Yeah.
What a piece of junk.
So the twist of this film being that Norman Bates, at the Bates Motel, that's kind of the famous thing, is the Bates Motel. In a lot of other horror films, they'll give a tip of the hat to the Bates Motel.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, if you just kind of watch for it. What's funny is he will go and you'll hear him kind of have conversations with his mother.
But you don't see anything.
You don't see anything, and it's tricking you because ultimately you find out that his mom's dead and it's his voice. So he's doing the voice for both himself and his mother, which I thought that was kind of interesting. I wonder if they actually used a woman's voice. I think they did use.
No, they used like a couple of different voices and then put them kind of together. When you hear them talking, it's a voice you imagine. So you hear them talking, so you imagine this old, decrepit, mean lady. She's probably a chain smoker or whatever. It was a very wise decision to do that because he's playing off your imaginations. You're building up this character yourself, even though you don't see her.
Yeah.
Think of that, and this is what's genius about him and M. Night Shyamalan, who did the Sixth Sense, is they do trickery with the camera that you think is just an artistic license, when in fact it's also a narrative license. So there's a few scenes where the camera pans up, goes above, and the shot is shot down. So when he carries his mother downstairs, you don't actually see her face. You just see him carrying a woman downstairs. And you as an audience member just think that this is a artistic flair. You're not.
And he had mentioned that she's an invalid.
Yeah, he had mentioned that. Yeah.
And so you're just like, okay, well, he's just carrying
her down the stairs. When in fact, the reason for the angle is to not show that she's actually a corpse, and not really a lie. What's ingenious about it is it's doing two things. It's making the audience think that, oh, this is so artistic and flows really nicely. And it is doing that, but it's also meant to withhold information so that
Yeah.
you don't
You're not privy to what
what's going
the
on.
real reason
The
is.
real
Yeah.
reason why he's doing that. So, and M. Night Shyamalan does this in his movies too, which is very interesting to me. It's like the withholding of information. It's like whenever Bruce Willis's character in The Sixth Sense grabs a doorknob, cuts away, it doesn't actually show him opening the door. It
It's
just shows
always
him
locked, and he's always looking for keys.
he's always looking for the key.
Yeah.
So, and it's like a nice little nugget that when you watch it again, you're going, huh. I thought it was just an artistic license thing. And in fact, it's a story thing. It's brilliant. Alfred Hitchcock was really good at this, withholding information. Rear Window is one of those movies where he gives you just enough and then withholds just enough to kind of keep your intrigue going. His movies have a lot of voyeurism in it. And people, have tried to attribute that, that he was kind of a weirdo himself. He had these weird tendencies. But the thing is society likes voyeurism.
I like watching you sleep. It's,
Likes it?
Yeah, because if you go, there's a lot of people just putting their life out online and people watch it.
Okay.
People like
in
to
that
know.
sense. Okay.
Yeah, people like to know what other people are doing. That's the thing is and that's social media is completely based on what other people are doing. It's based on voyeurism in essence.
Well, in a sense, but voyeurism is more about
Watching people
somebody
when they don't know
they're being watched.
Yeah.
Right. I get what you're saying, but online stuff is
being watched.
by choice. But in a sense, if you think about it, if you're looking up your ex and going,
that's voyeuristic. Right?
That is. It's kind of like you mentioned it, is that is kind of like voyeurism.
But as a species, we're interested in finding out what other people are doing, and not always. And sometimes we're doing it when they don't know. If you've ever had a layover at an airport, what are you doing most of the time? If you're not on your phone, you're actually watching other people. People are fascinated by other people.
Or we used to watch people, and now that we have our phone, we watch people on our phone.
On our phone. Yeah. That's true.
It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay?
When you look at the human nature aspects of this movie, not much has changed in our nature. Our technology has changed, our styles have changed. That's all changed. But like you were saying, this is a time capsule of a different era, but human nature really hasn't changed. At the beginning, she goes to try to buy this car because she's being followed by a policeman, and it kind of blows up in her face. It doesn't actually pan out the way she wanted it to. The thing is the salesman is kind of just looking. So he's trying to be the salesman that we all know. We all know, we've all been there when we're trying to buy a used car, and he's kind of looking at her going, "Why are you usually we barter here. This is the part where we she's giving him everything that he wants." And the reason I say about human nature is that's not changed. If you were to go to a used car dealership and you just said, "I'm not going to barter, I'll give you the price you want," you would have a used car salesman go, "What? Well, what's wrong with you?" That was what was so interesting about that scene, is because the used car salesman, that hasn't changed in 65 years. I don't think the used car salesman, because he was still shocked.
What did he say? The first time someone pressured a high pressure car salesman.
You don't want the usual day and a half to think it over? You are in a hurry, aren't you? Somebody chasing you?
Of course not. Please.
Well, it's the first time the customer ever high pressured the salesman.
Like you were saying, there are a lot of differences, but I think the basic human nature hasn't changed. I think that's universal. It's always going to be around. There's a nice little nugget throughout, and I don't know if you noticed this, but in the first half of the movie, or in the first couple of scenes of the movie, she's in a white bra, and she has a white purse. But after she steals the money, she's in a black bra, and she keeps the money in a black purse. And it's a
Kind of
little subtle way to show
like
not.
like a loss of innocence
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a weird kind of sense, do you think Alfred Hitchcock was a little bit kind of putting a morality of like you still and then you die?
Yeah. Well, there's
It
some.
like you get your comeuppance in this sense or something like that.
Yeah, I think you might be on to something there because he's basically saying she does do something that's wrong. But it's weird how he makes it so we don't really care that she did something wrong. Because the guy that she steals from is kind of a creep and he's like hitting on her at the beginning. It's his money and he acts very nonchalant about it. So it's all these like little nuggets of showing that, oh, hey, she like he's almost showing a mirror to our own morality. It's like she's justified in taking that money, man.
Yeah.
She needs it. That guy doesn't need it, and he's a creep, and he's kind of a jerk,
Yeah, and he hit on her
and he hit on her,
yeah.
and it's funny how he did that so that we don't lose sympathy with Janet Leigh's character, Maureen.
Yeah. Do you think he was trying to get us to have like a level of sympathy for Norman Bates for the murderer?
Probably because he obviously had this rough childhood, right?
He builds up so that you have a little bit of sympathy for the Janet Leigh character,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then he kind of, in a way, you kind of see how Norman's mother treats him,
Mm-hmm.
and you hear about how she treated him and stuff like that. It makes me wonder if he was kind of wanting to build up this little bit of sympathy for
The psycho
the
killer.
villain.
It is kind of interesting to kind of try to analyze because it's obvious that he's taking some moral stance with the white and the black. At this point, she's doing good. At this point, she's not doing good. Nowadays, we do too much of this. We do too much of the moral. Like we need to understand why the Joker is, with
The way he is,
the way
yeah.
he is, and we need to understand why. Like there's the Ed Gein story, which is what this is based on, is coming out on Netflix here very shortly. And I'm sure they're going to make us sympathize with a psycho killer like Ed Gein. But I wouldn't say she's not an evil character. She's a morally gray character. She did something wrong. And so Alfred Hitchcock, I think, is taking a stance. She did something wrong, but she's also repentant of it right before because she's like, okay, I'm just going to go back. This was a dumb move or whatever. There's so many layers that you could derive from that as well. I love at the end how they superimpose his mother's skull over his face right before it fades out. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that.
You need to
No.
rewatch it. So when he's glaring at
Yeah.
the camera, he's looking directly at the camera. They superimpose while he's fading out, his mother's skull is right in his face.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of symbolism in this for the darker natures of human beings, I guess. You get her motivations right away because the scene at the beginning, they're talking about money. And that's another universal, money woes of regular people has never changed. We're still always worried about money.
It's about security.
What is that supposed to mean?
Money!
And I looked up how much money that she stole. So it's
40,000 back then. Yeah.
40,000 back then is the equivalent to today between 400 and 500,000. It was, for that time, it was a lot of money. So 400,000. I mean, it's not enough to I don't know if it'd be enough to build a whole new life. Back then, it might have been enough to build a whole new life. There's not a lot of thought that goes
into her
into her.
what she's doing.
It's almost like a crime of passion because she wants to be able to get married to him.
I'm just going to look up how much it would cost back then to buy a house. So average cost 11,900.
Jeez. Yeah,
So
that's about right.
I mean, that's a quarter of what she had. Her buying power with that 40,000 is actually a little bit more than the 500. I would say. I would say.
She has a conversation with Norman before the famous shower scene. What's interesting about it is that he kind of, through a roundabout way, convinces her to take the money back. So he kind of convinces her to do the right thing. The underlying villain of the piece is also the person that was driving her to do the moral thing. After she eats her sandwich and they have a conversation in the parlor, she just kind of goes, I think I'm going back. Basically says, I've got to face the music or whatever. And that's why she's doing the arithmetic, because she's trying to figure out, she's only spent like $700 on the car that she bought. So she's trying to figure out what she would owe if she was to take the money back.
It's funny that he's the one that's talking to her about doing the right thing. If you think about it, ultimately, this show is about a psychopath who's got a split personality.
Mm-hmm.
So he's actually he is kind of the better person of the two.
Yeah.
Now,
fair enough.
His mother kills her. His mother kills her, and then he's the one cleaning up her body.
Yeah.
So that's not like necessarily what a good person would do. So my point being is that the mother is his side that is the murderer.
Yeah.
Not him, technically speaking. I mean, if you think about it.
Huh. Yeah, there's another thing I want to point out. So when he brings her into the room and he opens up the window for her, he kind of says, hey, there's stationery there, and he makes a little joke, and he kind of goes, and then he stutters over his words. He won't say the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, the bathroom? And he goes, yeah, that. Indicating, so immediately when I saw that, I was like, that is so brilliant, because that's indicating that this has happened before and his subconscious cannot handle acknowledging the bathroom. It's such a brilliant it's just a little thing. It to me, it implied that he had done it several times before.
And towards the end,
they say at least two missing persons.
They've got other missing persons and stuff. So,
so they do indicate
He's
that.
done it before.
But it was interesting because he won't say bathroom to her. He's just like, and that's in there. And she's like, the bathroom? And he goes, yeah, that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, his subconscious kind of
some kind of mental block there.
Yep. And it is a really great performance by Anthony Perkins. There will be moments where he's charming, and then there will be more moments where he's completely creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And they switch back and forth all the time.
Yep.
So he'll say something that's like a little joke, and she'll kind of like giggle or laugh at it, and then he'll say something that's just off the wall creepy as hell.
Your move, creep.
Like a boy's best friend is his mother, that kind of, it's like, wow. There's a lot of psychology in this, like
eatable mother.
Well, there's the eatable mother, but there's also the Oedipus complex. Then those are both playing. So the Oedipal mother is the mother who smothers her child.
Mm-hmm.
And you gather through dialogue that he was smothered by her right up until the point that she found her lover. And then he became jealous. And that's where the Oedipal comes in, is he's jealous of her attention being diverted towards another person. And so he murders them. And you don't really know that he murders them until the end, but there's all that playing out in there. It's kind of, kind of brilliant, I think.
Let me ask you this. Do you think this is brilliant because of the book, or do you think this is brilliant because of Alfred Hitchcock?
Well, I haven't read the book, so I don't know how much they deviated from, but the brilliance.
My understanding is that the book has the twist and everything in it as well.
The twist isn't what's brilliant about the movie. It's all the details that he's put in, I think, that make it a brilliant film.
Hence to the brilliance of Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, hence to the brilliance of Alfred Hitchcock. You know, if you read up on him, he kind of, I don't know, he kind of knew that he was brilliant, and so he kind of used it to mistreat people a little bit. Just in this, there was Janet Leigh famously said she'd never take showers again. She only bathed. And the point that she was trying to put across is that shooting that scene was really rough on her. He did request her to have cold water. His reasoning is that with cold water, you get a more visceral reaction, her body really shivering from the shock, that sort of thing. But he was kind of notorious for doing the thing where you make the actor uncomfortable on purpose to get the right reaction from the actor. And sometimes that can come off as cruelty, but something tells me that he was wasn't just being cruel for cruel's sake. He was trying to get something from the actor.
There was a body double. Marley Renfro was the body double, who's a model and Playboy bunny.
Yeah, boy.
For the shower scene. So apparently all the times that you don't see her face, it's this body double. I just thought that was interesting because I didn't know that there was a body double.
And now for something completely different.
I just want to say before we get going here is that it feels kind of like it's a forgotten film. In the 90s, we were way more conscious of older films. It just felt like as a teenager, and it might be because our parents were older, and so our parents watched older films. But it feels like this is a unknown film because of the newer generation. The newer generation tends to not look at older things and only looks forward.
But you're so old.
It kind of surprised me because I've shown this to my two oldest kids. Their friend groups have no idea this movie exists. And it was such a cultural shift this movie made in society at the time for movies in general. You know, you give another 65 years and this movie may not even exist anymore. Like it's just interesting to me to think that such cultural milestones of entertainment will eventually be lost to time. And it might be because film is not the dominant entertainment, the number one entertainment of the world. It's video games now that are the number one entertainment of the world.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if it's just shifting to the point where, you know, in 65 years they'll be talking about the latest video game in this way that we're talking about Psycho.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, audience. Check us out on social media, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Instagram and X. Just look for The Sword in the Skull.
If you liked this, you are the subscriber we are looking for.
And until next time, keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. We'll see you, brother.
See ya.
There you go, son. Now get out of here. You're bothering me.